I'm just going to pull back on this inside rein. I'm going to use a direct rein of opposition. I'm slowing or stopping half of my horse's body. So because this half is able to stretch and step big and this step is small, eventually I'm going to get a turn, just like I would get a car driving in a circle if I had small wheels and big wheels. But I'm shutting down this inside hind leg. So even though I may be getting my turn, I'm losing the engagement of my inside hind leg. Does everybody follow that? Plus, if my horse is not well educated, what do you think is happening psychologically to the horse? He's confused, yes. Because we're saying step through, step through, step through, but don't step through. Step through, don't step through. Step through, but don't step through, okay? So eventually the horses learn that when you put a combination of aids on, they can compress one side of their body. And then in fact, they will step through and compress as they step through. But none of you, with the possible exception of this horse when he's being ridden very correctly, none of you are sitting on horses who have that as a solid basic understanding right now. So if you use that indirect rein, the direct rein of opposition on the inside, you're kind of like putting up a barrier and then you're telling your horse to walk underneath itself with that inside hind leg. So that's a no fair for me, okay? And my idea would be no fair. All right, who knows the name of another rein? The indirect. But there's two of those, aren't there? Okay, so we have the indirect, what?
Inside rein and outside rein.
The name of the rein tells you where you're going to put your hand. Indirect.
Inside rein and outside rein? Or?
No.
No.
Okay, so we have the indirect in front of the withers, and we have the indirect in back of the withers. All right? So why don't you ride your horse out here a little bit and then go a little sideways to the audience, and I'll let you demonstrate it. Okay, turn sideways. Okay, good, and whoa. All right, so pick up your reins, but lightly. All right, so if I'm going to use an indirect in front of the withers, now we never cross our hands across the withers. All right, so when we talk about in front of and back of, it's the angle, the line that's going to pass the horse, all right? So, we have to be a little shorter here. Okay, so indirect in front, the hand of the rider comes in almost to center line, don't break your wrist, all right? And is aimed at her opposite hip, all right? That's indirect in front. Okay. Indirect in back is a little bit more open, but still on an angle. Now if this rein kept going, it would pass through her middle, the rider's middle, and when it ended, it would end on the horse's opposite hip. Right? So it's applied a little further back. This one's a little more in front, comes up a little bit. All right, this one is down here, but still on an angle. So, who knows what the indirect rein, did you guys see that? Do I need to show it on the other side? Did you see it? Okay. Who knows what the indirect rein in front of the withers is primarily used for? So put your hand in that kind of a position so they can kind of figure out. Good. And don't cock your wrist. Keep it that girl.
It's like their shoulder.
Very good. What about their shoulder? You move the shoulder. You change the weight in the horse's shoulder. Okay? So by adding a little bit of a block here, and also in front of the withers has a tendency to raise the horse's head a tiny bit. All right? The horse, the head and neck coming up a little bit, lighten the forehand. The diagonal pressure takes the horse and asks him to shift his weight like that, off that inside shoulder. And that's why everybody gets in so much trouble using it. Okay, because how do we want our horses to get off of the forehand and move their weight off of, especially the inside shoulder? What's our primary tool? Anybody?
Leg.
Inside leg. Yes. So what we get suckered into, all right, is here comes our horse towards a bend, and we feel him starting to lean on that inside shoulder. And we know we don't want him to lean on the inside shoulder. We maybe we put our inside leg on the horse and says, let me get, take a message and get back to you. And so then what do? We don't sit up and correct that horse. We don't say, excuse me, when I put this inside leg on, I expect your ribs to go out there. No discussion, no argument. This morning's lesson, what did Susan tell Linda when her horse didn't want to go to that corner? If you have to walk, if you have to stop. Let's not let the horses, lead this band. But what we do is we take this very powerful tool and we stick our hands across the horse's neck, and the horse kinks his nose like this. And because his nose and his neck is kinked, he kind of falls on this outside shoulder, and we get what we think is our bend.
Yeah.
Okay? Or our turn. Now, anybody want to hazard a guess of why that's not a good choice of a tool to get that turn from?
Because it's from the front end instead of the back.
Exactly. It's from the front end instead of the back end, and we're locking up everything from the bit all the way back to the tail.
It also teaches your horse the fine art of running through his outside shoulder.
Yes, thank you.
Never had one do that. You do not want him to learn this art.
Yes, yes, and Terry's horse has been dead.